Fan, what's up? Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. Good morning. Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. I got Coach Sean with me this morning as we talk Alabama 66 against Chattanooga 10. We're also going to outline the college football world. As you know, the top 8 did not lose. Let's jump right into it and let's bring him on. Coach Sean, what's up, man? Good morning to you. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, man. How you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing amazing, man. Let's dive right into it. Alabama 66, Chattanooga is 10, and some major takeaways from yesterday. Let's start right away with the play of Jalen Milroe, setting the tone from the very first play of the game. It was a nice pass to Jermaine Burton over the top, and that really set the stage for this game. And I love the fact that Alabama knew that they had to keep the pedal down, and they did just that. Took care of Chattanooga. They were actually up 38-7. Your initial take of Alabama's play in that first half with the starters?
I think we played very, very well. I love the game script. I love the play calling by Tommy. I love how we played on third down, which we call obviously the money down. That's very important to me. The defense played very, very well, all besides a drive or two. I'm not satisfied with giving up 100 yards to the young man. I understand he had a lot of volume. I think he had 20 carries, maybe over 20 carries, maybe. But as far as the game script on the offensive line played well. Every facet of that game, including Jalen Milroe's intermediate passing game, finding the open receivers, letting them get in a rhythm. Everything was awesome. Everything was awesome. And they put together these drives over the course of several games. That's what's promising. We fell asleep a little bit on defense, but I told the guys last night, I can live with that. I can live with that because these games like Chattanooga for the players are very difficult to get up for. You lose focus during the course of the game. You're up big. It's normal just to lose focus. So I'm extremely satisfied with what I saw.
Yeah, I think when you look to key takeaways from this game yesterday, I mean, look, it was what it was, and Alabama was expected to win this game in large margin, and they took care of business and they controlled every single quarter. That's what you want to do in something like this, in a game like this, because you couldn't have any sort of snafu or whatever. They took care of it. Caleb Downs, at punt returner, steps in for Kool-Aid after Kool-Aid fumbles the football, and he returns the punt 85 yards for a touchdown. What was your take on Caleb Downs returning punts? And do you feel that having a marquee starter now returning punts for Alabama and Caleb Downs is clearly he has that playmaking ability, but sometimes there's another venue of people that said they don't want a key contributor returning punts because of whatever. What's your take on Caleb Downs, and do you like him returning punts?
Man, listen, I said several shows ago that it's a confidence thing with Kool-Aid. You could tell it's a confidence thing. Coach Saban verified those exact words. With Caleb, it's not a confidence thing. This kid is full head of steam go. He's looking to make a play. He's looking to catch the ball, to field the ball in proper fashion. He's looking to make a play. I can understand the fans concerned about a key player on punt return, but if you look at Coach Saban's history, that's what he's always done, dating back to Javier Arenas. He was a starting corner, catching punts. This is what he does. This is what he does. But I do remember when Vinny Sunseri got hurt on a special teams play. I'm not sure if he was making a tackle or fielding a punt. I can't remember what exactly play it was, but I remember Vinny losing him, a starter, an important starter on punt returns. And it does make you wonder, all these great athletes we have, why put one of your best on special teams in that type of fashion? But the guy's a playmaker, man. We cannot deny that. Look at this guy. That really says something when the first time this kid is back there, he scores a touchdown. I mean, if we're looking for him to take him off the field, I don't think that's going to happen now. So, yeah, it's good and bad with it. And I think we just got to take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think clearly he's so dynamic as a safety. It's amazing to think that he has over close to 700 snaps as a freshman, right? In his initial season with the Alabama Crimson Tide, put him back there as punt returner, makes one good move, is a spin type move, and then he runs out and he returns to 85 yards for a touchdown. The one thing that Coach Saban was critical on, and of course you're going to be a coach and you're going to look at all the fine details, is the way that he was carrying the football, right? I mean, when you have the football out there, you're not carrying it like this. You want your fingers, across the ball. I mean, we've all played the game of football.
Yeah.
So those are the things that coach is going to get on him about. It's a great punt return, Caleb. But look, these are the things that didn't make it perfect. I think that having Caleb down back there right now is great because you want big time players to rise up towards this back end of the season. You're going into a game, and we're going to talk about the Iron Bowl here in a little bit. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging against Auburn. It's going to be challenging against Georgia. I don't care what happened with my New Mexico State Aggies, by the way. If you guys didn't know, I'm a
Shout out
proud
to New Mexico
alum.
State.
I'm a
Shout
proud alum. It was
yes,
crazy.
sir.
Man.
Yes, sir.
1-24 against SEC. $1.8 million to take the L, right? Man, Las Cruces going crazy. Might have to go down there. Ty Simpson yesterday gets more opportunities. We saw him against Kentucky look good. He's a super athletic quarterback, right? He has an ability to extend plays. I thought on the rewatch, man, he made a great throw to Kendrick Law. And we're not here to start any sort of quarterback debate, but we are here to talk about what we saw. And we could potentially talk about, the future, what it means for Ty Simpson, because clearly, Simpson did a good job, and he had a 78-yard run where he dropped the football right before the Plains, and that's another learning experience. Coach Saban was like, do I even have to comment on that? It's like, you know what I'm going to say, right? You hand the ball to the official, but overall, your take on Ty Simpson and what we've seen from him so far.
Listen, Ty has played extremely well. In the amount of time that young man has came in and played the game, he's did exactly what I expected him to do. Ty's going to be a hell of a player, man. The guy's a pure passer. I said in the beginning of the season, I thought Jalen Milroe would start because of his experience. And, when coordinators come to Alabama, they really run the same structure that Coach Saban wants them to run. So I knew Jalen would be well-versed and have a leg up in that regard, being Ty was so young and learning the offense. But now, toward the end of the season, you see what this guy can do. And as far as him dropping the ball, listen, I told the fans last night, this is a coach's son. That young man was probably just super excited. That you'll never see that again from Ty. Trust me. This kid was, if you look at him, he was excited, man. He was excited. He made a big play. He just was excited, man. So that'll be something. If you look, he was sick afterwards for doing it. That'll be something Ty will never do again. Great things coming from Ty. Great things coming from even the young man behind Ty, Lonergan. So the future is exceptionally bright for Alabama. Trust that.
And when you look to the Alabama quarterback position going forward, you have Jalen Milroe, who, I would, in high confidence, believe he's coming back for next season. Then you have Ty Simpson. You have Dylan Lonergan, who we saw yesterday come in. I know it was a small sample size, but then you look to Julian Sain coming in. You have Eli Holstein. That quarterback room certainly has so much talent when you start to look down the road. And of course, look, different things are going to happen. You have Tyler Buckner still on the roster. So there's going to be some moving parts, as there always is at the end of the season. But in terms of having a quality quarterback for the next several years, clearly Alabama has that. And I think it's been good to see the development of some of these younger quarterbacks, because we haven't got to see too many opportunities from Ty Simpson, from Lonergan. So, did you see anything from Lonergan that stood out to you? He had 2 completions yesterday, 2 attempts. Anything jump out from him, or, any other comments regarding the quarterbacks, Coach?
Yeah, I did. He has an extremely strong arm. This kid has a big arm, man, big arm. But he's young. First read, he letting it go, whether they open or not. This kid is going to be very, very good too. Extremely accurate, extremely big arm. So I think the sample size was very, very, very small, but the arm strength is definitely there. You can believe that. I'm just super excited about Ty. If Jalen comes back, great. If he doesn't, I think we'll be in great hands. I know a lot of fans talk about Julian Sain, and Julian Sain is probably going to have a great career, but Julian Sain is a high school quarterback. This young man has not played any college football yet. 100%. They all look great in high school, right? So Ty is next up, believe that.
Yeah, 100%. And another piece of news that I wanted to bring is Devontae Smith had 4 tackles yesterday. Why is this important? Well, number one, if you haven't been following along, and I say this every time because people still trip out, and they'll say it inside the comment box after I say this, Alabama has another Devontae Smith. 100%. He plays on the defensive side of the ball, and he plays safety. And in my opinion, he probably would have been the starter if he didn't get hurt at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Came back, and he's now 100% healthy. Saw him a little bit against Kentucky, had 4 tackles against Chattanooga. Why is this important? Well, Jalen Key, who we did see yesterday as well, was dealing with some sort of a quad injury. And I think having quality depth back there is vital to that secondary as you start to get to this postseason part of the season. I think it's really important to see Devontae Smith back there, and is really excited for him to get on the field in 4 tackles. And what's up, champs? Green, I see you inside the comment box. And thanks to everybody, Eric D, David, Al Sanders. I know a lot of people, hype up Coach Sean as well. And I'm glad that you guys are with us this beautiful Sunday morning. All right, Coach. So as we kind of turn the page to the Iron Bowl, and before we talk about the Iron Bowl, let's kind of go over some storylines in college football. And as you know, that top 8 that we've been watching, here's some storylines that really stood out to me. I'll kind of read through them, and then you guys can give us feedback inside the comment box. I will take your calls today, probably around the 10:30, 10:35 mark. You got to get Coach Sean out. But let's just kind of go over the top 8. I'll kind of go through this graphic real quick, and then we can kind of go back and forth, Coach. As you know, Georgia defeats Tennessee 39-10. We can talk about that. Ohio State with a big win over Michigan State 38-3. Michigan survives Maryland and Talia Tagovailoa. As you know, Jim Harbaugh out. Florida State 58. North Alabama 13. Jordan Travis injured. Washington 22. Oregon State 20. Penix balled out with 3 touchdowns. Oregon 49. Arizona State 13, Texas 26, Iowa State 16, and then Bama 66, and then you have Chattanooga 10. Coach, your initial take from the board right here as you look at the top 8.
My initial take is, you watch, they're going to let Washington jump Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
Not even necessarily because of the injury. I just believe they want Washington up there. I really do. I think that the powers that be don't want Washington out. After Washington beat Oregon State like that, close game, but this is like their 4th so-called ranked team they played.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely going to put Washington up there, I believe. Shout out Al Sanders and shout out Javian Smith. Roll Tide to you both, man. I think those 2 teams are going to switch places. Maybe if Florida State's win their conference and prove they can still win with a backup quarterback, I do believe Florida State can get back in, but I do think they're going to switch Washington and Florida State. As far as us concerned, it's just like I said 2 weeks ago. I just don't believe, whether we win out or not, man, I don't believe with this committee that we're going to get in, even if we go on and win out, as long as Texas wins and as long as Oregon wins. Should we be in? Of course. But if you look at what's happening right now, we're not moving, no matter what good win we have, no matter what bad win they have. They're not letting us jump any one of those teams. All they preach is head-to-head. Sark's key slogan is the win he have over Bama. The guy talks about it in every interview, as he should. So I don't see us jumping these guys. If Oregon keeps winning and win their conference, if Texas keeps winning and win their conference, I don't see them letting us jump them, even if we beat Georgia. If you look at how they're setting it up, they keep talking about head-to-head. I've heard that 1,000 times. They don't even care who's playing the best right now. I do think they're sweet on the Pac-12 right now, and I think they want one of those guys in, whether it be Oregon or Washington.
It's interesting to think about this particular factor is the fact that if Washington is so good and playing lights out, and I watched them last night, this is a good team. I mean, the quarterback can spin it across the field, and those wide receivers are definitely elite for sure. I think they're very similar to Florida State, right, in that sense, with a healthy Jordan Travis. The thing is, if they're so good, then why were they a 2-point underdog on the road against Oregon State? You see what I'm saying? Right? Like those Vegas numbers certainly can tell you the greater story. So I'm curious to see if Tuesday night during the next rankings that Washington is rewarded because they were an underdog against number 11 team on the road and they survived in the rain. Right? So move them up. And I think we got to watch that number 4 spot 100% because Florida State now without Jordan Travis, what are they going to do? And I think this should certainly come up on Tuesday when these guys are meeting, is they say every single week is a clean slate. Well, They were down 13-0 in the first quarter of that game against North Alabama with a healthy Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis he played up to that point. It wasn't until the backup came in and then they started rolling. Obviously, that gave them a lot of momentum, but they were losing 13-0. Can you imagine if Alabama yesterday was down 13-0 to Chattanooga? I'm serious. Listen to this. If they were down 13-0, Alabama would be eliminated from the playoffs. 1,000,000%. They were down 13-0. They need to be penalized for that, not because of Jordan Travis. And my heart breaks for that kid because that guy is an absolute baller. And you want to see him continue to play at the highest level through the back end. I've been hard on Florida State all season long. That guy is an absolute baller. Same thing with Brock Bowers. Same thing with Jane Daniels. Same thing with Penix. Same thing with Bo Nix. That guy is playing out of his mind. Bo Nix yesterday, 6 touchdowns. You don't want to see these. You don't want to see any of these guys injured, right? It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that that plain and simple, these guys were trailing 13-0 to North Alabama. Okay, a team from Florence.
Exactly.
So that needs to be taken into account. Texas 26-16 against Iowa State. The game again was 6-3 at the halftime break. This is their first 10-win season since 2009. They keep boxing out Alabama because of that head-to-head win. But I think that when you look to this new slate, you have to look to how these teams are playing. Let's look at Texas over the last 3 games, and let's look at Alabama over the last 3 games. Texas, 2 wins by a combined 6 points and then a win by 10 points. You look to Alabama took care of LSU, Alabama took care of Kentucky, and Alabama took care of Chattanooga during that same point in convincing fashion, right? Oregon and Washington on a collision course, and this committee loves the Pac-12, clearly.
Yes.
And I don't even think that depending on what happens with that, those teams are probably still going to, even the loser of that game could still be higher than Alabama if it's Washington.
Facts.
Right?
Yes.
That's what's scary. So, look, I think, and the coach said it last night from Chattanooga. He said that Alabama is the hottest team in college football. The hottest team is Georgia. Okay? Yeah. Carson Beck, the way that he's playing is crazy. 298 yards yesterday, 28-game win streak. After that, Alabama. Okay, so what I'm thinking is and I'll bring this up again all this week. I'm going to say the same thing. These 2 teams are on a collision course as well. I'm talking Alabama, Georgia. If Alabama is able to win that game, does Georgia get left out of the playoffs? Seriously. And could Georgia still make the playoffs and Alabama not make the playoffs? That would be crazy. Because if Texas is able to win the Big 12, if Washington's able to win the Pac-12, if Ohio State runs the table, those are 3 undefeated teams, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have Georgia, who overall body of work, even though they didn't win the conference, they'd be like, well, Texas beat Alabama head-to-head, so that game kicks them out. Georgia, you're in.
I personally think if Georgia loses to us, if we beat Georgia, I don't think Georgia gets in. And I'll tell you why. Eric D., I agree with you 100%, bro, but I'm seeing the committee is showing you what they value and what they don't. This is a committee that kept Georgia at number 2 all season, practically, well, the middle of when their first rankings came out. This is a team that didn't even value Georgia until they beat Missouri, right? So they're showing you what they value. All these losses that we had in the beginning of the season out of conference, they bring that up. No, it was a bunch of SEC teams that got beat by out of conference teams in the first couple of weeks. They bring that up. They're gonna hold that against us, guys, right? So if Alabama wins out, we should be in. I agree 1,000% we should be in. Yep. But it isn't setting up that way. They aren't letting us gain any ground on Texas. Texas has had struggle win after struggle win. We hadn't gained any ground on these guys. Right? Oregon, they're their poster child outside of Michigan. Look at Michigan yesterday, right? Why don't they drop, right? So I don't see it, man. I don't see it. We're hanging our hat on the SEC should get in. Yes, we all agree on that, right? But this committee is not showing that. Please believe it.
And I think you're right too. I mean, look, Alabama beats Georgia. I would be just completely shocked if they don't make the playoffs. But if Texas keeps winning out, I mean, these guys are going to be rewarded 1,000,000%. Same thing with these Pac-12 teams. And you think one of these Big Ten teams is going to lose in the Big Ten title game? No. So let's look at the schedules real quick. So this is upcoming, okay? So you have Georgia taking on Georgia Tech. I mean, should be a huge favorite. Ohio State and Michigan. What's the early line on that? Let me know inside the comment box, please, if you guys got that. Jarvis says, if you're up, man, let us know what that line is. Florida State at the number 4 spot, taking on Florida. And this is the crazy thing. Florida's quarterback got hurt.
Yep.
Their quarterback got hurt too. So you have Florida State and Florida playing head to head with backup quarterbacks. How crazy is that, right? Yeah. It's like these teams, like they keep on getting lucky bounces as well. It's amazing. Like Washington, and this team is so opportunistic. They take on Washington State. Oregon takes on Oregon State. Texas will take on Texas Tech. That game is in Austin, and then Bama takes on Auburn. So with that said, Coach, that's kind of how things are looking up, right now. Let's talk about this Iron Bowl, okay? So you have Alabama taking on Auburn, and the whole world yesterday was talking about my New Mexico State Aggies, and rightfully so. Long story short, Auburn paid poor little New Mexico State 1.8 to come up and take the L, right? Well, New Mexico State, they were an 8-game winner going into that game. This is one of the best New Mexico State Aggie football teams that they put together. And if you forget, like New Mexico State, that's where I graduated from, Las Cruces, 2007. This team is a basketball school, right? Football is, for football games, we would get 12,000 for our games at Aggie Memorial. 12,000. That's it. Right? Basketball is a different story. A couple years ago, they took Bruce Pearl to 3 overtimes. The basketball team's legit, 100%. Football is a different story. This quarterback, he's from Albuquerque. He played at New Mexico Military Institute, completely bullied Auburn yesterday, and they win by a score of 31-10. And, 1.8, and they go back to Las Cruces laughing all the way to the bank, literally. With that said, that's probably the scariest thing to happen going into the Iron Bowl because Hugh Freeze, as you can see, is 2-3 against Nick Saban. He's beat him twice, okay? Mm-hmm. Nick Saban all-time against Auburn is 11-5. 5 times he's lost because the Iron Bowl is just bananas, right? This Auburn team, they were tied with Georgia 10-10 at the halftime break until Brock Bowers completely took over. It's not an elaborate team by any stretch of the imagination, but this is a dangerous team. You're going over there. They're coming off that L. This is their Super Bowl. This is everything you got. This losing to New Mexico State was dangerous for this Auburn team, Coach.
I would tell any Bama fan this, and hear my words clearly. This is an Auburn team that only lost to Georgia and Ole Miss by 1 score. This is an Auburn team that won their last 3 SEC games and dominated Arkansas like never before. I understand New Mexico beat them. New Mexico State is not a bad team as far as their physicality. Very physical team. Very physical team. I even heard some prognosticators saying they wouldn't be shocked if New Mexico State played with Auburn for a while. So to beat them the way they did was a shock. But to beat them, that wasn't too much of a shock to a lot of people. But don't lose sight of the big picture. We had a great team a couple years ago, went down there with Bryce and all the guys and almost lost. So if you don't believe Auburn is going to get up and play their best game against Alabama, you're living under a rock. They will play their absolute best. Those kids will sell out to play their best against Alabama. This will be a record sellout. They'll be as loud as any stadium we've played in. They will play hard against Alabama. Please don't look at the New Mexico State game and think, okay, well, that's what's going to happen with Bama. We could blow them out, right? We could. We should blow these guys out. But my point is, this is a rivalry game. These kids will play exceptionally hard against the University of Alabama.
Yeah. And I think another thing to add on to that is you look at the last couple of games against Auburn and you look to the fact that a lot of these guys that are currently leading Alabama's offense haven't played in a game like this, at least been starters. It's a completely different atmosphere. First time I went to Jordan-Hare, I was blown away just because that environment is built to just have weird things happen. You've seen players completely ball out. Remember Bo Nix? A couple years ago, played the game of his life. That seems like 7-8 years ago whenever he beat Alabama head-to-head. I saw Kevin Steele one time as a defensive coordinator beat Alabama, right? So, Alabama is a large favorite. They know what's on the line. It's an elimination game to get into the playoffs, to get to that. They're already the SEC champs, right? Or the West champs. But going in this game, there's a lot of margin for error. You can't just think that because they lost to New Mexico State that you're just going to waltz in and, be able to take care of Auburn just like that. I think it'll be a very challenging game for Alabama overall. It's another SEC game, and Auburn has been weird this year. They won 3, lost 3, won 3, then they lost. Right? It's been kind of up and down. And when I watched them play against Georgia, they gave Georgia problems. I mean, they're physical, and like you said, New Mexico State. I was really surprised last night how physical they were. The Aggies were like a physical team, and they utilized their tight end across the middle with short intermediate passing. And the quarterback, he's super athletic, and he picked up a couple first downs. And I mean, I was pretty pumped to see my Aggies roll.
Al Sanders had an exceptional comment. He said, clear-cut case of preparing for Bama before the play of New Mexico State. That I agree with that 1,000%. These guys were clearly looking ahead to Alabama, clearly putting a lot of emphasis on stopping them in practice. I mean, it's clear to play that bad against New Mexico State. They definitely putting all their eggs into the Alabama basket. Yeah. So, don't be shocked if these guys come out and fight. Really fight.
Yeah. No, I think that that game is certainly going to be challenging, and when you go into that game, I mean, who knows? I mean, we've seen this game go a million different ways, and it's always interesting to see Alabama and Auburn. I'm sure that Saban is going to be dodging all the rat poison or whatever. I mean, Miss Terry's been talking about this game for 3 weeks, and what did she say? Everyone's been hyping up Miss Terry this year, and rightfully so. But what did Miss Terry say 3 weeks ago? She said that Auburn's going to be tough. She said that, right? And he was like, don't, that's rat poison. We're focused on one game. She's right. Auburn's going to be challenging no matter what's going on. Anything else, Coach, before we wrap you up here? And I'm going to get Coach out, and then I'll take your calls. So, Coach, any other final comments when you look at the board right here? Anything else stand out?
Just all the fans, just really don't get too overhyped against Auburn. We went down there with Bryce. J-Mo had I think J-Mo may have gotten when he hit the guy, I think he was suspended for the game or the half or whatever it was. Went down there and Mechie. The pass to Mechie is why we won that game. Right. So that team was supposed to be so bad at Auburn. Went down there fighting for our lives, man. So don't get it twisted, man. It's still football. Never measure a game, or especially a rivalry game, by what a team done against another team. We should beat them without a shadow of a doubt. Under 99% of the time, Alabama should blow this team out, right? But just like Kyle said, a lot of wonky stuff going on in this stadium, man. So let's root for our Tide. Let's pray for the best. Look to the bigger picture and roll Tide to everyone out there, man. I appreciate you all.
Coach Sean, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you joining us on Sunday. Have a fantastic day and enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch up with you on Monday night with the coaches.
No problem, man. I appreciate it. Roll Tide.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks, Coach. All right, that was Coach Sean. My name is Kyle Henderson at Bama Football on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to connect the call line and I'll take your calls. Today, when you guys call in, let's keep it, make your point. Let's get to it, and let's get a bunch of calls rolling through. I'll be here for a while. I'm here for you. I'm here to talk college football. So give me 1 second. Be right back. Connect the call line. I'll be right back here on Bama Football on YouTube. All right, fam, we go right to the phone lines. I appreciate you guys. I got a 601 to start out the show. Let's do it right now. Hey, thanks for calling in. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, good morning, Kyle. It's Jason Pensacola.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for calling in, man. What's on your mind? Alabama now 10-1 on the season, 7-0 in SEC play after a 66-10 victory over Chattanooga, man. Take it away. Thanks, Jay.
I was pleased with the whole game. I was pleased with the whole game, except for the touchdown run. I mean, they really let up. I mean, the Appleberry, he's a good quarter. I mean, he's a good running back. So I mean, I ain't taking that away from him. but we just gave up on that. But I'm pleased with that. I have a question. So I was looking at the college game day,
Okay.
and they was giving us scenarios the same way we're doing. And the scenario they gave, they said on the Big Ten champs, they get in, and they put Florida State up there. But a lot of those people, they said they put Bama over. If Bama beats Georgia, they put Alabama over Florida. Regardless of their season, they put Bama over Georgia. And of course they put Texas in as well. And I was like, I was pleased by what they were saying, but I know it's just all hypothetical. But if that does happen out, if Florida State does win out, and Washington wins out, I mean, you got or if Oregon beats Washington, I know they're gonna put Oregon in regardless because they, like you said, I say this, they're pretty high on Oregon. But I just feel like if Alabama beats them and they don't put us in, I really fear for Georgia because I really fear for the SEC. What I mean, because if we beat Georgia and they put Texas ahead of both of us, all because of the head-to-head win. If Texas wins out, so it just a whole bunch of we need Texas to lose pretty much.
Yeah,
we need Texas to lose.
I think when you look to the playoffs, So look, I think when you look at the board right here, I mean, the two top teams clearly right now in college football, like as of today, are Alabama and Georgia. The problem is as you know, is that Texas is right above Alabama, and they continue to win. All the teams win, right, in the top 8, and good teams win at this point. I heard yesterday, and I'm sure you guys heard too, if you guys were listening to that Washington and Oregon State game, Kirk Herbstreit was going on and on and on about the season and the grind of Washington and how they've been able to survive week by week. And I was thinking at the same point, I was like, my goodness, think about the gauntlet that Alabama went on, because he said gauntlet for Washington. I don't know how much a gauntlet is against USC, a team certainly on the ropes. Even Dan Mullen said yesterday, he was like, are we talking about, Chip Kelly being on the hot seat? Maybe on the hot seat should be Lincoln Riley. I mean, you have all the weapons, all that talent at USC and just underperforming. I mean, if anybody has played the gauntlet, it's certainly been Alabama. And, you could even list up Georgia. I mean, they just went on their 3-game, gauntlet, and they took care of business against Missouri, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, all ranked teams in the playoff rankings. I know Texas has had a tough schedule. That's what a lot of people also like. And somebody in the comment box just said, I think a lot of things changed because of the fact that Jordan Travis just got hurt for Florida State. How are they going to add that into the equation? Because that is now a completely different team that only has one marquee win this season. They are living off that LSU win in week 1, 100%, right? And now without one of the best quarterbacks in college football, what are they going to do? Now going into this game against Florida, the quarterback for Florida, he gets hurt as well. So you have 2 backup quarterbacks playing in the swamp. I think Florida State has enough talent to win that game. The quarterback was actually pretty serviceable and had that team rolling. But this is a different team without Jordan Travis. And, they're going to have Florida and then Louisville in the title game. But look, this committee loves the Pac-12. In Oregon, with the style points that they keep accumulating week by week, and in that impressive win over Arizona State with Bo Nix playing like he is, man, this team loves Oregon. So if Oregon's able to take care of Oregon State again, and if they beat Washington, man, it looks bleak. And we know that the only route for Alabama really is for Alabama to beat an undefeated Georgia. Clearly, Georgia's going to be undefeated when those two teams play. So you can't even think ahead of that because you have to take care of Auburn. But it's hard not to talk about when Alabama's still at number 8. I mean, you want the playoff rankings? Here they are. They're not going to move these teams. I mean, I guess the only thing they could do is move Washington up, which continues to hurt Alabama's chances because Oregon's right there. You could theoretically go Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Washington, Oregon, Florida State, Texas, and Bama, right? That's, right. The rankings certainly go like that. Anything else, Jay, before I move to my next caller?
I just want to be positive and being real. If Alabama did not make it in. The one thing we can say, we won the SEC championship. Just being real, because if Oregon does beat Washington by about 2 points,
Mm-hmm.
it still doesn't bode well for Alabama.
Yeah.
So I mean, the best thing we can do this season is win the SEC championship, because the committee doesn't like SEC in general. Because we've been on top for the past 10, 12 years. So I mean, we want to see what plays out. But I appreciate you taking my call, Cal, and roll tide today.
All right, man. Take it easy. All right. Thanks, Jay, for calling in. This is a good question. Eric's saying, Kyle, why would Washington move up if they won by 2 points? Because this group loves the Pac-12. The Utah AD sits on the board. So does the Nevada AD. These guys love the Pac-12. They've talked about it all season long. Kirk Herbstreit has bought into this Pac-12 love as well. I love Kirk Herbie. You know, I mean, I've been following. He's been posting about his dog recently, his big old golden retriever. But man, I just don't agree that they have had the same type of schedule as the SEC. You know, I feel that an SEC team being left out, you know, it doesn't seem realistic, but I don't know. With all these teams winning, and think about this too, Ohio State or Michigan could still get in the playoffs because they'll be only a one-loss team as well. There's a lot of teams. We're in the playoffs right now. How are they going to get the top 4 team? I don't know. All right, we go back to the phone lines with the 251. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle. My name's Matt from Mobile. Sometimes I go by Mattress Matt.
All right, man. What's up, man? I appreciate you joining us, man. Welcome to the show. Take it away.
You know, I hear, you know, I think and I know this sounds like a broken record, but the Bama fatigue thing, you know, I think it's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's strong. It's stronger than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
It almost seems like Bama is so powerful that they almost control like the weight of the metrics themselves. And so it's like you were talking about head to head. Head to head is so important this year because Bama's involved
Mm-hmm.
in that head to head discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, head to head has always been every single year. This is the first year where head to head is such a heavy metric.
Yes.
Usually head to head is only an outlying factor when you're comparing 2 equivalent resumes.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's assume Texas and Bama went out at the end of the year.
Yep.
You're gonna have a Bama team who's beat the number 1 team in the nation.
Yep.
And who has also beaten 4 other ranked teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to have a Texas team who's lost against a poor team in Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
and has had a very weak conference championship.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're comparing Texas and Alabama's resumes at the end of the year, Alabama will have an overwhelmingly more impressive resume.
100%.
And so that has always been in the past, that in the past, every single year since the committee began, that's how it's been done. You compare the 2 resumes, and if they're equal, then you take the head to head. But
Mm-hmm.
Alabama will have an overwhelmingly better resume than Texas. And so
100%.
that takes that early season head to head out of being a factor.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason this year, it's like head to head is like the biggest thing that's ever existed,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so Alabama basically controls the whole discussion, the whole weight of the metrics,
Mm-hmm.
which is just ironic,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that there's a big elephant in the room, you know? So, I mean, Michigan and Ohio State, that's already been solved.
Mm-hmm.
The winner of either Michigan or Ohio State are getting in, only one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have Michigan and Ohio State. One of those is going to be in. Then now that Washington won last night, you'll have either Oregon or Washington will be in. Both of them can't get in because they have to play each other. So you're going to have either Michigan or Ohio State. You're going to have either Oregon or Washington, and then you're going to have FSU if they win out. And then at the number 4 spot, you're going to have either Alabama or Texas, assuming Texas wins out. If either FSU or Texas loses, Alabama's in if they win out. But the problem is that if both Texas and Alabama win out, they're going to be battling for that 4 spot. And the way that they've always done it is Alabama should have that 4 spot according to the metrics that they've always used. So, they're for them to go off and do that this year, to me, it just ruins all of their credibility and makes all the fans ask themselves the question, why did we even move to a committee? Because there was no problem with the BCS computer system. That was never the debate. The only debate was with the BCS system was that they only took the top 2 spots. The debate wasn't that there was a problem with the computer system. It was let's expand the amount of teams that can get in and have a chance. Why didn't we just keep the computer system and expand the amount of teams that have a chance? That way it keeps it unbiased. I mean, don't you want the 4 best teams in there? Not just the 4 best political teams.
Sure.
Like it's all politics and money now, and it's ruining the game. I mean, you want the best teams in there, and to say that moving to the 12 teams is going to fix everything, that's not. Then we're going to be having the same discussion, for the 11 and 12 spot, and we're going to have the same problem with the committee. The committee is a disease because you're getting bias and human beings involved in a decision that shouldn't even be. It should all be based on. It should all be based on preloaded metrics that are just preload them into the computer system and let the computer decide, because then you don't have bias. Because the eye test is just a way, basically, that's a cop out for a way to say, well, they passed the eye test, which is just means this is just my opinion. So,
I think too. I think when you look to kind of the way that the playoffs are set up, I don't like the way that a bunch of people get into a room and decide, the fate. And we've talked about that a bunch of times. But my fear is sometimes when you do have a computer metric system, the computer doesn't know, like they put like James Madison or something like that up in the top 4. And then you're just like, because we all know, look, they've been having a great season. They lost yesterday to App State. But then, it's like we've seen that before. But the problem is here, Matt, and I appreciate the call, is the fact that all these teams don't have the same type of, the conference schedules. They don't have the same type of teams. And so the formulas get all mixed and matched. Like the teams, for example, in the Pac-12, they just play the 1 and 2. Same thing like in the Big 12. They don't have, divisions like in the SEC, right? So it makes it way complicated to try to rank these teams. And the other thing that we definitely know, Matt, is this, like you were pointing out, the schedule, the strength of schedule, okay? Because let's talk about this team right now, okay? Florida State. Florida State, in my opinion, in prayer, like thoughts and prayers out to Jordan Travis, but there is zero way that this is the same team that's been living off that LSU win, and now they don't have their quarterback. Like that was the elimination. They're out. I mean, that's not a top 4 team right now. That's not. Were they at some point in the season? I guess it's debatable, but they're not. Are they going to be able to survive Florida? Maybe. They're going to be able to survive, Louisville? Maybe. But this isn't the same thing. The same thing would happen if it happened to Jalen Milroe. 1,000,000%. So you have to look at the teams who are the best 4 teams right now, not the most deserving, the best teams. Who are the best teams? Bama, Georgia are 2 of those 4 teams. The rest, I don't know, is it Oregon or Washington? They're going to play off to figure it out. Same with Ohio State and Michigan. Michigan has 1 key win. Ohio State is living off a win against Penn State and against Notre Dame. That's Ohio State's other key win. Serious. Remember when? And Notre Dame is the one team that everybody's still like, that's an amazing win. You beat Notre Dame. Really? They've lost 3 games this year. They lost to Clemson. By the way, Clemson should have beat Florida State. What else you got, Matt?
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like this year, they just decide, okay, strength of schedule means nothing this year.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So they just get to decide that strength of schedule doesn't mean anything this year. Well, you know, why shouldn't the same way that you judge the winners be the same every year?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but this year strength of schedule means nothing, and early season head to head means everything.
Yes. Yep.
You know, so it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, Bama was certain. Like, that's the frustrating thing is like, why are we? You know, that head-to-head win back in week 2 means so much more than how Texas has played as of late. And the playoffs are in the future; they're not in the past. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but they beat them head-to-head, and that is the biggest thing that they're living off of. That was literally the biggest game in college football. And those end results, who would have thought that dictated the playoffs? Because it looks like it's going to. Other than Bama having to win every single game, even including beating. And this is the crazy thing about the college football playoff system is even if Alabama, this is the crazy thing. Even if Alabama is able to beat Georgia, which is the hottest team in college football, we're still wondering if they make the playoffs.
I agree with you. I wish I don't understand why we have a committee. You know, this is a side note. You know, they brushed that thing under the rug and got rid of the stopping the clock on the first down thing. I didn't like that, so they moved it. I like when the clock stops on first down.
Yeah.
But that's just a little quick side note. But anyway, I you know, the committee's lost all its credibility to me. I mean, I don't. Why do we even have a committee?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. All right, Matt, I got to move to the next caller, man. But I appreciate you calling in, man. Call it again. I enjoy talking football with you, man. Have a blessed Sunday, man, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.
You too.
All right. Matt calling in from Mobile. Thanks. Calling line is open. I appreciate you guys. We got David up next from Louisiana calling in. 205-850-1994. My name is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. I think we have a couple of new people inside the comment box. Welcome into the show. You guys can call in if you guys just want to talk college football as well. I'll talk college football with you guys all day. We got Eddie, I think, inside the comment box. What were you saying, Eddie? What's up, man? I appreciate you guys. Ben saying, yep, Kyle, 100%. I appreciate the support. Thank you very much. Ed, what's up? I see you inside the comment box. KJ, I know you've been on some of our recent shows. Thank you so much. Gelato, same thing, man. He's saying just recently that Georgia looks incredible. 100%. I mean, that team is playing at a great level. Carson Beck playing out of his mind. That quarterback is doing so good. All right, real quick. He's saying, how did guy get from Las Cruces to Bama? All right, long story short, I grew up in Santa Fe, New Mexico. From there, I went to college in Iowa. I went to Central College. If you guys know where that is, drop it inside the comment box. And then I went back to New Mexico and then did I worked for a company in Los Angeles, just outside of Redondo Beach and Torrance. Then I moved back to New Mexico, finished up schooling at New Mexico State, started my own business for 12 years covering New Mexico high school football. Also lived in D.C. during that time, so I was all over the place, worked on Capitol Hill, worked for a congressman and for the EPA, and then I moved back to New Mexico, lived in Albuquerque, and then got an opportunity to come out here and cover Alabama football. So now, starting in January of 2024, I'll have lived in Tuscaloosa for 7 years, which is amazing. Time flies. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. So Las Cruces was amazing. Had a lot of great memories there, and the food is crazy because it's like it's Mexican food because it's closer to Mexico, right? You have Las Cruces, El Paso, and then literally Juarez, Mexico. But then you have Santa Fe, which is more northern New Mexico. So the food is amazing. In fact, I'm going to be doing my show from New Mexico from December 15th to probably, I don't know, the new year, depending on where Alabama goes. So I'm going to go from Tuscaloosa to New Mexico, wait to see where Alabama is, and then kind of just live out of a duffel bag or whatever for a little bit. But we go back to the phone lines, and I appreciate David calling in. Let's do it, David. Dave, what's up, man? Appreciate you calling in, and happy Sunday.
Same to you, brother. Same to you. It was a good win yesterday. Only thing Ty Simpson needs to do is hand the ball to the referee in the end zone, like Coach Saban said. Fellas, Downs just holding the ball in his hand instead of tucking it like he should. Because what if somebody could have come up behind him and knocked it out? You know, Saban would have lost his cool big time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a great win. You know, I mean, I agree with the Chattanooga coach who said that it's the hottest team in the country right now. No, I don't think anybody could even touch Alabama at the rate that they're playing. But as far as the playoffs go, if Michigan loses to Ohio State and loses to Iowa in the championship game, that could be a factor as well, or vice versa. You know, Ohio State wins, lose, whatever. And Oregon State beats Oregon. Bama beats Georgia. Texas loses Texas Tech, and then loses their conference championship game. Florida might get lucky and beat Florida State, and then Florida State loses their conference championship. I believe they play Louisville. There's always those chances of things falling in the line to possibly help Alabama. If Alabama can win out, those are what ifs.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed. But if those things do fall in line, there is no way that this committee could keep Alabama out, only being a one-loss team, with those factors if they fall into place. And as far as Auburn goes, this coming up weekend, can't sleep on them. The way they, dismantled Arkansas, they're coming off of a loss to your old alma mater. But they're going to be prepared. They're going to come in, they're going to play. We're playing at that stadium over yonder in Jordan Hare, whatever you call that place over there. But they're going to be ready to play. They're going to give us 4 quarters. And if Bama can play like they did against LSU and Kentucky, and just come out and start dominating and score early, and the defense plays up to par, we could possibly win, 21 points, 28 points, whatever. It's a possibility. Because the way the offense is playing and the defense is playing, yesterday, we gave up 10 points, but I heard Coach Saban mention something about how the competition level was just not an enthusiastic for the team at sometimes on defense. They gave up some big plays at times, but in bigger games, it seems like they play a lot more physical at times, And I agree with what Coach said. And this is a big game. And then, we got 2 weeks to prepare for, or what? Well, actually a week to prepare for Georgia. And the way Georgia's playing, it's going to be a tough game. That Carson Beck, he's lights out at times. He's a really good quarterback. Yeah. And he ain't scared to run the ball either. So we're going to have to keep eyes on him like we did with LSU with Jaden Daniels. We're going to have somebody keep an eye on him. And if we can get some sacks on him and pressure on him, then that might change things, because from what I've seen, Georgia has not played the level of defense like Alabama has right now going on. And the offensive line of Alabama has just been really, really, really good. They have been given, a lot of time, a lot of protection to Milroe, and that makes a big difference, you know. And I'm not taking anything away from Georgia's defense. Georgia's got a good defense, and this is going to be a different beast that we've went against, you know. Yeah, they throttled Tennessee last night, but Tennessee is a deflated team right now. They haven't, you know, won in a couple weeks and stuff, you know. It's just whenever you're down like that, it's hard to get back up. You know, if Tennessee was an undefeated team right now, it's probably been a different game. You know, I did watch that Washington game last night with Oregon State, and that was a close game, very, very close game. The Michigan game with Maryland. To me, personally, Michigan is not the team that everybody's saying they are. To only win by 7 points against a 6-4, now a 6-5 Maryland team. Come on now, give me a break. You know, there was a lot of close games last night, and I understand Oregon State was in the top 15, you know, last night when they went against Washington, but to only win by 2 points. And I think the weather had a factor, you know, at times. There was a lot of fumbles and stuff like that went on, but it was a good game. And I think Washington can stumble, you know. Oregon can still stumble. Florida State can still stumble against Florida. You know, I think they're playing in the swamp this year. So it's going to be, and they lost, you know, I hate that Travis got hurt and is out for the rest of the year. And, but I believe Alabama still has that small window to get in if they can win out and the cards fall in place. Like I mentioned, you know, Michigan loses, you know, 1 or 2 more games, or, you know, whatever. There's always that possibility. But if it doesn't go that way and Alabama still wins out, it's like Coach Sean said, and I agree 100% with him, and I've even said it a couple of times in the comment box, that this committee does not want an SEC team in the playoffs. Because if Alabama beats Georgia, they're going to drop Georgia out of the top 4, in my personal opinion, because they want those Yankee teams into the playoffs. They're tired of seeing SEC in and winning year after year after year after year. They're trying to change it up, in my personal opinion. But I might be wrong. But I just feel like, in my opinion, that's what this committee is wanting done.
All right, David. Well, I gotta cut you off there because we're running through calls today. But I appreciate you calling in. As you know, I'll be on live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m., man. So call back, and I appreciate you calling in, man.
All right, brother. Y'all have a good day. God bless everyone, and roll tide.
All right, roll tide to you, man. All right, David out in Louisiana. We got a 631, a 980, and a 256. When you guys call in, I appreciate you guys. Let's chop it up, make your point, and then let's fly through the calls so we can continue to get the show rolling. I appreciate you guys for joining. My name is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining in today. Let me run through the storylines because I think there's a couple people that have just joined in today. So this is the top 8. And as you know, the top 8 did not lose last night. So hit the subscribe button, and if you want to become a fan funder, go up to the YouTube channel and hit the join button. It's right next to the subscribe button. I appreciate you guys. You guys have your full-time job. I have mine. Mine is right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Georgia 39, Tennessee 10. Carson Beck on fire, like David just said, to 298 yards. Georgia's on a 28-game win streak. I can't even believe that they were number 2 to begin with there for a while for the committee. Ohio State 38 to Michigan, and like David was saying again, you know, like this committee loves the Big Ten and they love the Pac-12, 100%. Michigan 31, Maryland 24. Jim Harbaugh continues to be out. More stuff continuing to circulate around that. And then the game was tight. Talia Tagovailoa had some opportunities late in that game, didn't come through with it. Florida State 58, North Alabama 13. Now, the biggest takeaway for that was 100% the story surrounding Jordan Travis. And I think that is certainly going to impact Florida State. How could it not? The guy was playing at such a high level, just like all these quarterbacks are that have been performing at a high level. Hate it. Prayers for that kid. what he's done with those wide receivers has been outstanding. I just don't feel that they've played a really strong schedule. I'm curious to see how they go against Florida, considering that Florida's quarterback went out yesterday with a collarbone injury. Washington yesterday survives Oregon State, and I think Washington is going to potentially jump Florida State because of the fact that this is the craziest thing, they were underdogs on the road. If they're so good, you should never be an underdog, right? In the back end of the season, and they're able to beat Oregon State 22-20. Penix throws for 3 scores. They're riding an 18-game win streak. Oregon, the committee loves Oregon. Loves them. 49-13 against Arizona State. Bo Nix playing out of his mind. 404 yards passing, 6 touchdowns. Number 1 offense in college football. They continue to just put up a ton of points. Texas 26-16 inside the comment box. A lot of people saying that Texas is not the same team that they were at the beginning of the year. They're not, but they continue to win. This is the first 10-game winning season since 2009. And look, Steve Sarkisian has a ton to do with that. The guy is such an amazing coach. What he's been able to do at Texas has been phenomenal. They got the wide receivers to do it 100%. And, they beat Alabama straight up, and that is a game that continues to have Alabama at that back end. With that said, we go back to the phone lines, 631-980-256 and 973. You guys are all next right here on Bama Football on YouTube. 631, let's start it. I appreciate you calling in. Who I'm on the line with and where you calling in from? What's up, man? What's your name and where you calling in from, man?
It's AJ. I called you a couple weeks ago about Jalen Milroe.
AJ, dude, you're back, man. We got to ask you about Jalen, man, because you called in. You were hating on Milroe. You didn't like him. Dude, Milroe's been balling out, man. I need to hear some feedback on it because, look, this kid has been playing at a high level, man. I'm going to give you an opportunity, AJ. You got to spit it, man. So welcome in the show, and let me know your take, man. After a couple weeks, are you on the Milroe train or are you still off?
I am nowhere near on any Milroe train ever. I still think he misses more passes than he should. He's playing adequately, which he should have been doing all season. I think we're more impressed that he's actually playing adequately. He's not playing great football. He's not. We all know he's athletic. He should be putting up huge numbers if he was actually a good quarterback. He's playing adequately. He has a great team around him with a lot of talent, and I think the offensive line is playing a heck of a lot better. And I think that's the biggest change, the offensive line. Defense is lights out, we know that. Running backs are the running backs. Receivers are above average. The offensive line is playing great. Defense is playing great. We have an adequate quarterback. That's what's happening right now. But my phone call isn't really about Milroe. It's unfortunately, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I don't see a way we're gonna make this top 4. There's too many ifs. There's too many, if this, if that. And what really hurt us yesterday was Auburn. Oh my God, come on. So now this Auburn win that we're going to have this week is going to mean nothing because this Auburn team got smacked around by New Mexico State, a team with a bunch of 2 stars and 3 stars. You got smacked around by New Mexico State. So this win against Auburn is not going to mean anything. Ohio State, Michigan are going to cancel each other out. Someone's going to go out to top 4, but they're not going to go far out. They're going to go like 5, 6. We know that. If Bama beats Georgia's going to go down to like 5. They're not going to go 6, 7, 8 because they've been number 1 and 2 all year. The things that we need to happen is so many scenarios, man. You need Florida State to lose. You need Michigan to lose. You need Washington to lose. It's just not going to happen. I just think that loss against Texas really hurt us. And I don't think it was just the loss from Texas. I think it was the 2 to 3 weeks after that of poor, mediocre football. That was when we had a chance to move up slightly. Move up 1, move up 2. We played South Florida and looked like a 1AA team. I know Nick Saban was trying to figure out who his quarterback was, but even when we had Ty Simpson in and we had other quarterbacks, the fact that we literally could not move the ball, I think that's what made the committee go, yeah, let's keep them back here. So I don't think it's the Texas loss that hurt us. I think it's the way we played 2, 3, 4 weeks after that Texas loss. We did not look like a top 15 team. And right now we look like a top 3 team, but I think it's just a little too late. We should have been doing this starting week 3 or week 4, week 5. Understand? So I just think there's so many things that need to happen, and unfortunately, style points won't bring us back. It brings me back to the Ohio State Miami Hurricanes days, when Miami Hurricanes were like the number one team, amazing, scoring everything, and Ohio State kept winning by 3-7, tough defense, and everybody was like, "Oh, look, they're not beating teams by a lot." But then when they played Miami, styles make fights.
Mm-hmm.
Styles make fights. Miami got punched in the face. Miami punched back, but it was just styles make fights. Just because Michigan is not blowing everybody out doesn't mean when you line up against them, you're going to blow them out. You know what I'm saying? Styles make fights. So it's just, I don't think this year's the year. I would love to see it. I think Bama would win, honestly. I think Bama is the best team in the country right now. But it's just we fell too far behind, and then the climb back was just too slow.
On the line with AJ from New York, right? Or was it from Brooklyn?
Yes.
All right.
New York. I'm from Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah, I got you. All right. Okay, so first of all, I appreciate you calling in, man, because I was wondering, man. I was like, listen, man, like at some point, AJ's going to call back, all right? So listen, first of all, I appreciate you calling in. All right, so let me give you my rebuttal on Milroe. I let you talk, and I appreciate you giving me the floor now. All right, so when you look to Jalen Milroe, I think the thing about him, what has been really amazing was when you look to the actual stats, this season, it's been really amazing to see how he has transformed from the beginning of the season to now when he has this team completely under his wing, right? You look at the stats right in front of you, and you see his Pro Football Focus grades. I mean, 88.3 against Ole Miss, 90 against Mississippi State, and for whatever reason, I mean, that people can't get that Week 2 game out of their mouth. But when you look to the overall stats and the passing statistics, I mean, this guy has been really unbelievable, to be honest, AJ, because you look to the fact that this is the crazy stat that stood out to me is he has 12 rushing touchdowns, which actually leads college football. FBS. And then on the season, he also has all these touchdowns that he's been racking up through the air as well. He had another 3 yesterday. And his deep ball accuracy has always been there, but that short intermediate, it's been getting better, 100%. But the way that he played against LSU, that's kind of the game that I'm harping on with Jalen Milroe, because I think he has an ability to really just take over a game because he is that dynamic of a quarterback. We haven't seen that against Kentucky. We didn't need to see that against Chattanooga, but he didn't need to do that. So I think that the best player in college football, the most dangerous, is probably Jalen Milroe. I think regarding Alabama overall, this team, like you said, I mean, you said it, that this team is one of the best teams in the country. And the problem that we're having with this playoff selection committee is that kind of like the same thought process about Milroe and how he played in the early part of the season. Because when you look to this team's overall resume, and this isn't sensationalizing anything. I mean, these are the physical stats. I mean, they've won 9 games in a row. But the statistic that I think stands out the most about this team is the fact that they are 7-0 in SEC play. And I think when you compare the conferences, which is very hard to do because it's all hypothetical, you could just say this conference is better than this, whatever. No, like the SEC historically and this year, they have quite a few teams inside that top 25. This is a good team. It's a good conference, great conference, probably the best conference in college football. I mean, the way that Georgia's playing, like this might all be like a mute point because they might just be a buzzsaw and end everybody's hopes and dreams, right? But I think overall, like the SEC is the strongest conference, and right now Bama's 1-2, and honestly, the facts and the stats back it up that Jalen Milroe has certainly improved, and I mean, this guy's even his Heisman Trophy numbers, I mean, are climbing up there. I mean, the guy's balling out. AJ, what you got?
Kyle. All right, listen. I will concede to you. He's playing much better football. I still don't see what everybody sees. I still think he misses more passes than he should. I don't think he looks comfortable back there. I think he's a product of the team around him. That's what I think. The thing about Milroe is this, right? As great as you think he's playing, as great as his Pro Football Focus numbers are, whatever, when he plays a team like Michigan, Georgia, the teams that really play defense, I'm not talking about these run-of-the-mill teams, I'm talking about defense, right? They're going to force him to be a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a quarterback. That's when you're going to see him not being able to those 20-yard scrambles aren't going to happen. He's going to have to go to second read, third read, maybe fourth read. And he's just not able to do that. I understand what you've seen. I get it. But I'm telling you, when you force him to play quarterback, he freezes up, he throws interceptions, he throws it to covered receivers. He's just not a quarterback. But I understand. He's in college, he's deadly because of his legs and the potential of what he can do. I get it. I've been watching Alabama football like when I watch Tua, right? Kyle, you remember Tua. When Tua dropped back, it was like magic. It was like I know somebody's gonna be hit in stride. I knew it was a 5-step. I would count his steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you would see him go through one read, second read, and it'll be like it's magic. Like you were watching a quarterback. I was like, oh my Lord, I love watching this guy play. When I watch Milroe drop back, he looks so uncomfortable, and it's almost like he guesses who's gonna be open, and then once he finds one, he lobs the ball up, and his deep ball is great. I agree with you, but he doesn't have a fluid pass motion, and it doesn't look comfortable. I'm telling you, it's just not a quarterback. But I get what you're saying. The committee does not respect SEC. The SEC is the best conference in the league. I couldn't see Alabama falling behind 14 to that team FSU played. I don't even know who they played, but I couldn't see Alabama falling behind to that team. If Alabama plays Oregon State, they're not going to win by 2. Of course, like we all see this, Kyle. Like Alabama is probably the best team in the league. Georgia maybe is better than Alabama because they're like head for head. But unfortunately, it's just the road. It's just you're going to have to skip a lot of undefeated teams. And I don't think the committee has the guts. Honestly, the committee does not have the guts to do what we know should happen, which is skip all of these mediocre teams who've gone undefeated because their conference sucks. The committee does not have the guts. Even though last year they should have learned their lesson, putting TCU in the playoffs. TCU. It's like we keep doing this every year, but unfortunately, because of human error, because of these people that they're choosing to be in the committee, I heard there was a Pac-12 guy in there. It's just silly. You're not supposed to put Pac-12 directors or commissioners or whoever. That's bias. You're supposed to put football people in there. There are football people who know football, can look at football and say, yeah, Alabama would beat Washington 54-21. We all know that. Alabama would beat all of these teams in front of them except Georgia. I think Georgia is toe for toe with Alabama. Georgia is not scared of Alabama. In fact, even Alabama's championship years, if you watch the games that they played with Georgia went toe for toe with them every game. And that Tua to Smith catch, the game winner for the national championship, you and I know that was lucky. They were in cover 2. That safety should have never been in the middle of the field. So even that championship was lucky because Georgia outplayed them 90% of the game. It's the only team I feel can match up with Alabama toe for toe is Georgia, but the committee doesn't have the guts to do that because they're gonna put the Washingtons and the Oregons and all these teams that we know can't match up with Alabama. That's my thing with this college football committee. I can't stand it, but I have to respect it. Those teams are undefeated. Florida State is not a great team. I'm sorry they're not, but this is what it is. They're undefeated, right? Washington barely beat their game last year. They're undefeated. Meanwhile, Alabama is physically manhandling people. You're watching Alabama physically manhandle teams, but the committee doesn't care about that. They just want the undefeateds. So it is what it is. Honestly, Georgia and Alabama should just play the national championship. We both know that. Georgia and Alabama are the best 2 teams in the country. They have the most NFL players. They play football. You can watch the Georgia defense play, and it's magic, man. When I watch them play, I'm like, wow, look at the speed. Look at the corners. Look, you can watch Alabama and watch Georgia play, and you could tell they are a different kind of football. I can tell. It's a different brand of football, but unfortunately, it's just too far. I'm sorry. It sucks, but we're going to be left watching FSU and Washington in the playoffs. We're gonna watch Washington.
a backup quarterback Washington. All right, AJ, before I get to my next caller, man, let me point to some more facts on this. All right. So when you look to Jalen Milroe again, we're talking about AJ and I are chopping it up about Jalen Milroe. The stats right here. And when you look to Pro Football Focus, and I guess we've kind of gone away from the Pro Football Focus grades, for the last several weeks. I'll start to add those if you guys want to see them. The thing about it is it kind of gives you a reality check in terms of like what is actually going on, because these are people outside that grade the quarterback. So when you look to these grades as well, don't think of them necessarily as school grades, because like an 80 would be an A. So to see his overall grades from that beginning point of the season, overall, I mean, this guy, this is the crazy thing right here. Like, You love Tua, right? Like through 12 games right now, Jalen Milroe's Pro Football Focus grade is 91.2. Okay, 91.2. Now hang with me. Let's go up real quick and let's look to Tua Tagovailoa during that same point. I'm telling you, because I want to see his grade when he was at Alabama. So we'll go back to 2019. And all right, so okay, what did I just say? What's on the screen? Someone write it down. Okay. You love Tua, right?
91.2.
Okay, 91.2, right? Yep. AJ, this is gonna be our last. This is it, man. I'm gonna make you a Jalen Milroe. I'm gonna make you believe. Okay, in 2 seconds. Okay, you guys ready for this? 90. Hold on. 91.2. You ready? You ready? 91.2.
Past 83, Kyle.
Okay.
83, Kyle. Kyle, past 83.
Okay, that's fine. But I'm saying overall grade. Okay. Overall grade. You ready?
Okay.
3, 2.
Okay, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. 90.3. 90.3. All right. Okay. Those are facts. Those are facts, AJ.
Oh my!
I'm gonna buy you a Milroe jersey. You can go to CVS right now and get his autograph if you were here. AJ, I gotta go to my next caller, man. Make one more point before I bounce out.
Wait. 1 second, Kyle. 1 second, Kyle. When we talk about this again, you're gonna look at pass attempts, which Tua is throwing for 35 to 40 attempts, while Jenner's throwing for 15 to 20. That's one, right? One is carrying the offense with his arm. The other one is throwing 20 passes a game. And then look at passing rating. Passing. Not just offense. Passing. Tua threw 35 to 40 passes a game. He was the offense. Jalen throws for 20 passes a game. Yes, you're gonna have more of a greater score.
But they're completely different quarterbacks though, AJ. The facts are they're completely different quarterbacks. It'd be like comparing like the different quarterbacks between like Mac Jones and Jalen and Tua versus Jalen Hurts. Like they're all different quarterbacks. AJ, I got love for you, man, but I got to move to my next quarterback. I got to move to my next quarterback. I got to move to my next caller, AJ. All right, man. All right. See you.
I'll call back next week, man.
All right, man. See you, AJ. Take it easy, man. Enjoy your Sunday. Late. All right. We got a 980, a 256, and a 973 up next. That's fun. The stats are facts. I'm gonna buy AJ for Christmas Jalen Milroe jersey or a Lank hoodie. So check this out. Right now, I just saw this and I forgot about this. So taking place right now in Tuscaloosa, down at the university on the Strip, there's an opportunity to get autographs of the players. I think there's Malachi Moore, Terrence Arnold, Jalen Milroe. So if you're in town, you can go over there and wait in this line. So if you're accustomed to the Strip here in Tuscaloosa, the line literally goes from the CVS all the way past Galette's, like all the way almost back towards like the Walk of Champions. What's amazing about that is kind of the buy-in from the fans that they've been able to, follow this team, because this group of fans, I think, is so spoiled to what has happened in the past under Nick Saban, just winning by large margin. This year really tested fans, right? We saw people, what was crazy, we need to go back to the comment box and screenshot some of these, because there were people at a certain point in time that were calling. And look, I think Coach Prime is a good coach. I really do. It's just, that's a tough place to coach in Colorado. But there are people calling for Coach Prime to come to Tuscaloosa and to take over. These are facts. This is what's happening. So Kyle is getting flustered for a QB that checks his reads. Dude. Byron, what's up, man? I got love for you, man. The kid is winning. He is doing all the things that Coach Saban has asked him to do. What Coach Saban did in week 3 against South Florida was to show every single person in the nation that these quarterbacks could not lead this team to where they wanted to go. He had to literally show you guys. And I think in time, you're going to see Ty Simpson do really good things and, other quarterbacks on the roster. But look, this is the guy. And he's doing amazing things. And the progression that he continues to make. I mean, think about when he comes back next year. You guys are going to love the fact that he's coming back next year. Jalen Milroe leaves next year. I mean, this is a different team. Yeah, and there's going to be another quarterback to rise up. But for right now, Jalen Milroe, you don't want to admit it, he's the most dangerous player in college football. Ask any other defensive coordinator out there if they want to deal with him, whether you believe in his intermediate passing or not. You don't want to deal with Jalen Milroe, plain and simple. He's going to beat you. You cannot beat him when they unleash him at full go. You can't. 100%. All right. I appreciate the super chats. What's up, Adam? Thank you so much, man. Great show. I think it's ridiculous that we schedule cupcakes like Chattanooga. What a waste of time. Anyways, Bama is definitely a top 4 team. Milroe has improved a lot. Yeah, 100%. I mean, those, and we also got a super chat in there from Claire and from the GOAT as well. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the super chats. Adam, yeah, these back end games against these Chattanoogas or these North Alabamas, they're meaningless. I mean, yesterday I even saw like a dip in the analytics because people just don't care about that. They care about, the most interesting thing that happened yesterday was the fact that there was a punt return for a touchdown from a freshman. Other than that, really nobody, cared about the game that was taking place. And I get it. It just wasn't an interesting game. It was a sleepy atmosphere. But for the most part, the funniest thing is at the end, they always tell you the attendance. There was not 100,000 people there. So they always tell you like the sold out ticket attendance. So every single game is sold out, but that game was not sold out yesterday. And I have photos to prove it. Anyways, with that said, the transformation of this team has been amazing. I appreciate AJ calling in. We got a 980 and let's do it right now. Hey, thanks for being patient. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with and where are you calling in from?
What's up, Kyle? It's Keith from Georgia Roll Tide.
What's up, Q? Q, right?
Keith, yep.
What's up, man? I appreciate you calling in, man. Thank you so much for calling in from Georgia, man. Take it away and welcome to the show.
What's up, man? So I want to just, I don't think, all the fans with their heart, they want us to make the playoffs, of course. Of course, I want us to make the playoffs, but it's not going to happen this year.
Mm-hmm.
That loss to Texas, man, that's really what's keeping Bama out of the conversation, and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
If it was the way around, and we was in Texas situation, we'll be wanting. No matter when you win, you want credit for each win that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Texas beat us; they beat us by double digits on our own field, so that's something you can't negate. So, and the other caller, I think it was about 2 or 3 callers ago, and then the last guy you had, I don't see what they see. They're saying that, they're pointing out the rest of these teams having struggle wins. Bama has struggle wins. Besides the first game of the season, they played Middle Tennessee State. That's a game you should have won.
Mm-hmm.
The USF obviously was a struggle win.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of compare that USF game to kind of like the North Alabama game where Florida State had. Yeah, we didn't have Jalen Milroe in the game, but still, we're still a Division I program,
mm-hmm.
one of the best teams in the nation. There's no way we should have just beat USF by 14. Hell, we could have ran the ball and blew them out.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss, that was a struggle win. You're down at halftime. You came out and played good in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we beat Ole Miss by 14. Georgia demolished them. Mississippi State was probably the best game of the season to that point. You struggled to beat Texas A&M. You struggled to beat Arkansas. Even then, Tennessee, I believe, they flipped that switch in the second half. Then you go to the LSU game. That was a back and forth game right into the fourth quarter
mm-hmm.
when they took over the game.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky was probably the best game they played, even though they let Kentucky in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you beat Chattanooga. So, yes, Bama has the wins, but the quality of wins they're having. Like, you see how Georgia just dismantles teams. Alabama hasn't had no dominating wins this year.
Mm-hmm. I think the thing when you look to Alabama's,
how you feel about that?
Yeah, I think when you look to Alabama's schedule and you're trying to figure out, like dominating wins, they might not have a dominating win per se, but I think this is what I kind of go into the committee with. If I'm part of the staff, if I'm presenting my case on these guys. What's up, AJ? I appreciate your comments inside the comment box, man. That 7-0 record against SEC play, to me, that speaks volumes. And the way that they were able to win games consecutively during that stretch was impressive. Starting out with, Texas A&M, Tennessee, LSU, and Arkansas, whatever that was. I mean, that was a tough stretch of games for anybody in the world of college football. So Eric D wants to see.
Let me ask you this question.
Go ahead.
So Arkansas, we beat them 24. It was 24-21.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn, who just lost to New Mexico State 31-10, dropped 48 points on Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when you start looking at these teams, and I know how you say you got to play no matter what week it is, no matter how many losses you got. Auburn just completely blew out Arkansas, a team that we struggle with.
Comparing scores is tough. Because look, Alabama only played one quarter of play in that game, right? They only played the second quarter, and then they didn't really show up that second half. So when you look to Alabama's schedule, this is Eric asked me to put this up. You have Middle Tennessee, just as for reference. We haven't showed the schedule in a little bit. So they beat Middle Tennessee 56-7, lost to Texas, beat South Florida, and then things completely transformed for this team. And I think so many people are hung up on these week 2 and 3 for Bama, right? But it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then why aren't you hung up on the last 2 weeks for Texas? Right? It's like that doesn't even matter. You beat Ole Miss, a game that you were trailing at halftime, a complete game against Mississippi State, on the road against Texas A&M in a game where Jermaine Burton completely took over. Arkansas, that score, it's only by 3 points, but they only played one quarter of play, but it doesn't look good. I'll say that. The win against Tennessee, you had to score 27 points in the back end. And I think, this is the team, the college football rankings came out here against LSU, okay? And the reason I point that out is because you look to the last 3 games that Alabama has played, and granted, you take Chattanooga out, they've played in 2 complete games, and those scores should actually be different as well, because against LSU, you missed 2 field goals, and they scored that late touchdown before halftime, right? So that game could have been, a much larger margin. And then against Kentucky as well, they scored that late touchdown, which was a fumble, so it should have been 49-14. Took care of Chattanooga. So that's why, when the committee is saying that they start every single week with a new slate, I think that's complete, BS, because they absolutely continue to harp on the fact that Alabama lost in week 2. They haven't accounted for Texas, recent games over the last 3 weeks, and they're still living off, and we say this again, is that the committee loves that win for Florida State over LSU. They're like, that was a monumental win. And then for Alabama, they're like, they were supposed to win. So, I think, that's kind of the way that you look at it. Here's Texas's schedule. I think Texas has a top 10 schedule as well. Let me run through this real quick, Keith. So Texas, when you look at their schedule, let me bring this up. Sorry about that. They defeated Rice, then they defeated Bama, Wyoming, Baylor, Kansas, and then kind of these last couple games, they lost to Oklahoma, and then they beat Houston by 7, beat BYU, and then look at these last 3 games. Overtime by 3 against Kansas State, not even a top 25 team. Then they play TCU in a game they allowed 20 in the back end, and then they won last night by 10. Their wide receivers and the quarterbacks are good. I'm not going to deny that, but it's just a different team than it was at the beginning of the season. What else you got, Keith?
Yeah, when you look at other teams, man, like I said, Texas, man, of course, I think it's not about it's about like, okay, they played and Texas beat us by 10 at home. Mm-hmm. So even with Texas having those struggle wins in a sense, Bama has had the same thing. But what I have a problem with is the committee not holding other teams to the same standard that they hold Alabama. Even when who can won the game? If you win, and that's all that should matter. And like I said, Bama got punished twice because I feel like they dropped them a little bit too much when they lost to Texas. and then you have the bad win against the bad win against USF, and they go from 10 to 13. The AP poll, well, that was before the college football playoffs come out. So you look at Washington playing close games, Florida State playing close games, Michigan, even Ohio State, in a sense. Those teams haven't necessarily been punished because, you played such and such closest, but Bama's getting punished for it. So I feel like, man, it looks like they're trying to keep us out. And like I said, man, I feel like, to me, I didn't expect us to be in this position. If you look at that Texas game, this is a completely different team, man. But I feel like this year, going to beat Georgia in the SEC championship, we're still not gonna get in. Because if Texas wins out, we're not gonna jump them. The committee is showing that. We stayed at 8 for the last 3 rankings. They want Oregon in. Oregon's sitting there at 6. So we'll see how the rematch goes. Because would they end up having to play Washington again? Correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so whoever wins that rematch is definitely in. If Washington wins that game, but what I'm saying too, if Washington wins that game, they're definitely in. I feel like if Florida State wins out, which I think they will, they're in. So that's 2. Well, how you feel about this? So say Ohio State loses to Michigan, they're at number 2. Can they drop them out of the top 4? Or if it's the other way around, if Michigan loses, who would they drop out of the top 4?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I think the biggest point I think I agree with you on is the fact that Alabama seems to be penalized so much for that loss, whereas teams playing close games, it doesn't seem to matter at all. And I think I have such an issue with that because I look at the last couple of games, the way, like even Michigan against Maryland yesterday, they won't be penalized for that. That game was close. Like Talia had a chance late in that game, 100%. Texas against Iowa State, it wasn't overly convincing. I thought Quinn did play good, and those wide receivers are really dynamic. When you look to, Ohio State had a blowout win. And look, this is something that I'm going to be so frustrated if Florida State isn't penalized for trailing North Alabama 13-0. And this was when Jordan Travis was in the game. And I'm not going to ever say anything bad about Jordan Travis. I mean, why would I? I hope the kid gets better. That was terrible. But I'm saying, and I said this earlier in the show, just think about this for 1 second, please. What if Chattanooga was beating Alabama 13-0 yesterday? That would be the headline of ESPN. We're not even talking about that. Right. It's like it didn't even happen. That won't even come into play on Tuesday during the rankings. They won't even talk about that. And it's so frustrating because,
they're not.
Right? It's like, I don't get it.
Look at it like, they had a 58-point swing and they went on a 58-0.
Yes, that's exactly what they'll talk about. Yes, 100%. Yeah, and it's like,
without their quarterback.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, yep. So, it's hard to stack up. Keith, I got to move to the next caller, man, but I appreciate you calling in, and please call again next time.
All right, we'll call again. Roll Tide.
All right, man. Roll Tide to you. All right, we got a 256 and 973 and a 404 coming up next right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Kyle Henderson, I hope you're having a great Sunday. Let me know you guys are watching from or whatever inside the comment box. I appreciate you guys being here and joining Sunday with me. I figured I'd get on Sunday. I've been doing the morning shows. I think they've been great. Sometimes in the evening times, there's so many people that have started doing these shows. And I like the mornings. I'm a morning person. As you guys know, I get up at every time I say 4:20, everyone starts laughing. Yeah, I get up at 4:20, and but my workout group isn't till 5:30, and that's what time we work out during the week. I love it. I'm a morning person. I love to talk college football. So coming up this week, you have the Iron Bowl coverage, which will start on Monday. I'll get to my callers in just a minute, but you have Coach Saban at the podium on Monday, and then you have player interviews followed after. On Tuesday, we'll have player interviews, I would assume. Wednesday, check this out. Wednesday, it's my 40th birthday. which is crazy. Yeah, I'll be 40 years old on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, of course, is Thanksgiving. And then Friday, we get you geared up for, more Iron Bowl coverage. And then Saturday, kickoff in Auburn at 2:30 on CBS. I said this before earlier in the week, and I'll probably say this a couple more times. I was denied media credentials by Auburn because they said I'm not like a legit media affiliation because I'm not linked up with like On3 or Rivals or Yahoo or ESPN. I'm like, I'm self-made, right? So whatever. I'll be watching the game with you guys from Tuscaloosa, and we'll of course have post-game coverage and all that stuff. But I will go to this is the weird thing. I get media credentials for SEC week, like from the SEC and the SEC title game, but not against Auburn. It's kind of strange. Anyways, maybe that's karma. Maybe that's why New Mexico State won, right? With that said, I go back to the call queue. We got a 256. Let's get it. Hey, thank you very much for being patient today. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
What's up, man? It's Luke from Weaver.
What's up, Luke? How you doing, man?
Man, I had to call it. That dude AJ pissed me off.
I'm sure he did. You know what would be good is if I have like a fan versus fan debate off. So next time maybe you call in, we'll patch in AJ and you guys can go off, man. Luke, welcome to the show, man. What was pissing you off about that? Take it away.
The dude contradicts himself, man. He a bandwagon fan. He goes, if you've been watching Alabama fan all the way back, and then brings up Tua. Come on, man. Like, the dude has only seen the quarterbacks that came out and were just, for one, Milroe, when he came in last year, game plan wasn't even for him. Mm-hmm. He was doing Bryce Young plays. Mm-hmm. That wasn't him. Mm-hmm. And then this year, they didn't want to do what he wanted to do at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And, shit ended up like the way it ended up. Mm-hmm. But he wants to bring up all this stuff about Ty Simpson. Oh, they came into the USF game and couldn't move the ball. Okay, well, it just proved the fact. The dude isn't ready. Good player, just not ready. Mm-hmm. So who else do you want to do it? You know what I'm saying? You want to argue with the best choice we got, which is really turning out to be a great quarterback. Mm-hmm. And then all this playoff scenario stuff, come on, man, we got to stop it. Mm-hmm. We can't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're doing this because this is the last 4-year team. Mm-hmm. And SEC has run it every year since. So next year, they can't do anything. They cannot legitimately keep out the SEC next year because the top 12 teams get in. Mm-hmm. Guaranteed in that top 12 teams, there's going to be 4 SEC teams or so. You know what I'm saying? So they're not going to be able to stop it next year. They got to do whatever they can to stop it this year.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. Yeah, I mean, all those teams are definitely. I mean, can you imagine next year when there's 12 teams? How are you going to keep teams like Missouri, Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama out of the playoffs? I mean, maybe it's Tennessee or whatever, but I get your point. I mean, it's going to be hard to keep the SEC teams out. When you look at, let me ask you this, Luke. Now, I appreciate you calling in once again, man. Who are your top 4 teams as of today? And because I think we sometimes get into a world where it's like, are you ranking the teams overall? Are you ranking the teams who are most deserving based off if they won a conference championship or if they didn't? But I feel it's like, who are the best teams? Because isn't that what we want? Like, who are the best teams? And I think that's what scares me about this committee. I know there's different people on the committee this year, but last year they felt that TCU was one of the most deserving teams based on like merit and what they had done. They didn't even win. That was the crazy thing. They didn't even win their conference championship game, but still made the playoffs. And then we saw what happened to them, in the playoffs. But who are your best 4 teams right now as of today?
I got to say Georgia now. They won at the beginning because we talk about strength of schedule. Theirs is 100. They played like Ball State and they struggled in the first half with some of them teams. But unlike us, I felt like if Georgia was to play Texas in week 2, they would have lost. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? because of the way they're playing. But Carson Beck got time to improve.
Yeah.
Got time to get connected with Brock Bowers and got time to figure out how he plays best. We didn't get that. And then they said something about they were supposed to play Oklahoma the second game, but since Oklahoma's coming into the SEC, that they couldn't play them. So how can we play Texas? Texas is coming in next year. How will we able to play them?
That's a great point. I'm sure there's some sort of weird like scheduling dynamics in the background that we don't know about, but that is an excellent point. Is like, why didn't that game get postponed? Because up until this point, like up until these last 3 games, Georgia really hadn't played anybody, right? I mean, sure they're peaking right now at the best time of the season. And yesterday Beck was on fire, and Brock Bowers and Lab McConkey. I mean, those guys are dangerous. Their running backs are good. Their defense, still good. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's kind of interesting when you look at that. But yeah, and go ahead, Luke.
Their defense is all right. I mean, we got the number 2 and the number 7 cornerback. I think Caleb Downs is up there rated high. We got Devontae Smith back.
Yep.
Watch out. Like you said, he was supposed to be a starter. Let him get hot. And then Jalen Key, he got reps, so he's doing better. But, I mean, when it comes to the top 4, man, you got to put Georgia in there now. They're playing lights out. Alabama, and then it's just so hard with some of these other. Ohio State, they struggled against Rutgers, but then they, people have struggle games. I get that. Ohio State, for the most part, is doing all right. Michigan, man, I'd put Oregon State over Michigan probably.
The committee loves the Pac-12 and this Oregon team. I mean, Bo Nix is having an incredible season.
To me, Oregon State is the only one. I mean, I guess Oregon State's the only one that has defense. Washington doesn't, whatever. They ain't got no defense. That they're not going to stand up. Oregon is the only Pac-12 team ranked high enough with enough wins, whatever, to get into the playoffs that has the defense to stand up. So Ohio State, Bama, and whatever, Georgia. So that's probably my top 4 right there.
I'm going to say, got a question inside the comment box. Is it possible for 2 SEC teams to make the top 4? I'm going to go ahead and say yes, absolutely, because, there's still a couple things that could happen, depending on whatever, goes down. But the scenario on that would be Georgia's number 1 and Alabama beats Georgia, and they're both 1-loss teams. And Georgia has, the resume that they do. I mean, think about this. I put this out yesterday. Alabama currently has 3 good wins. So does Georgia. And the winner of that particular game will have a 4th, right, over top 25 teams and be a SEC champion and only be a 1-loss team. So it would be amazing. This, and I brought this up earlier in the show. This is what kind of scares me too, is even if Alabama, this would be crazy if Alabama wins that game and doesn't get into the playoffs, because Texas is able to win the Big 12 or whatever, and they hold that win still up to that point against Alabama. I could certainly see 2 SEC teams getting in, though, if they take Alabama and Georgia. I don't think it'll happen. If you do this, and I've said this, on my Sunday shows, go to ESPN and click playoff indicators. And I think somebody just posted that inside the comment box. If you go to all state playoff projections and you click out, they have different scenarios off wins and losses. Robert is saying Alabama has a 25% chance to make the playoffs. Go ahead, Luke. What?
That stuff is not the committee, though, man. I can't do that. I'm getting false hope. You know what I'm saying? I agree with some of these, what I think is not what they think. You know what I'm saying? So, like, man, I'm just down. I'm ready, bro. The SEC championship happens. Let's win. All right? If they keep us out, we know why. But if they keep us out, they keep Georgia out. And then they got to put Texas in, because if they're taking wins like that, then damn, Texas beat Georgia. You feel me?
Yeah, I got you.
So if they're doing it like that,
Mm-hmm.
this is how it's gonna go, bro. Either and Georgia beats us and they're in, or Alabama beats Georgia and we overpass Texas because they either lose in the Big, what are they in, Big 12, Big 10, whatever.
Big 12. Mm-hmm.
They either lose in that, they either lose in that or we jump them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're playing like shit and the committee does what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or neither of Alabama and Georgia gets in and Texas jumps because of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff we're thinking about, I mean, bro, just when you think, and like you said, I don't want Jordan Travis to be hurt.
Yeah.
But Florida's playing okay, so just when you think, okay, well, they're going to lose, Florida's quarterback gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Luckiest motherfuckers in the world, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and, I mean, the Florida quarterback played all right. You never know. It's going to be a good game. It'll be at the Swamp, but and then that could be beginner's luck for the Florida State quarterback.
Yeah, who knows? Sometimes things go weird. All right, Luke, I gotta go to my next caller, man. So I appreciate you calling in, like always, man. I always enjoy catching up with college football. You always bring up some good points, man. So take it easy, and Weaver, have a good Sunday, man, and call back next time.
Real quick though, man, get me on the phone with that dude AJ, man. We're gonna make him a believer.
All right, yeah, we'll set it up. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, take it easy, Luke. All right, that was my boy Luke from Weaver. All right, got a 973, a 404, and an 850 coming up next right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Dave, what's up, man? He says this one is from you, for you. Go to Mexico State. I know, it's crazy. So the crazy thing is, too, is not only did Alabama come up and play Auburn and win with 1.8, stay with me here, okay? Since I've been here, New Mexico State has come up to Tuscaloosa twice, okay? Twice. So I've got to see, I'm friends with the AD over there. They've come up and they've played and, they took it on the chin. Alabama gave it to them in both of those games. The crazy thing is Alabama paid, I think the first time that they played New Mexico State, they paid them like 1.5. It wasn't 1.8, it was like 1.5. But the following year, so that was in 2019. So the following year in 2020, New Mexico State was the only team in the country from FBS that didn't fall into a conference. So they didn't play an entire season. So that money literally kept their program alive until the following year when they played Alabama again and got another payment of like 1.7. So Alabama football honestly kept New Mexico State football alive. It's a crazy story. And now, with this win, 1.8. So when you look to those different levels, because when you go to a New Mexico State game, there's like 15,000. I'm sure it's different now because they're absolutely rolling and they've won 9 games on the season. But, when I would go to school, I mean, there's like 10 to 12,000 people, if that, at the stadium. Of course, your rivalry games are different. Like they play, UTEP isn't too far away. It's like a 40-minute drive. And then Albuquerque, where I used to live as well, is like 3 hours from Las Cruces. But overall, that's kind of crazy that they played 2 times up here and then they beat Auburn. I never would have thought in my wildest dreams that they would have beaten Auburn. And they did convincingly. Like that was a beatdown. It wasn't one of these last second throws. Like, no, they dominated Auburn. That was wild. All right. 973. Let's do it. Hey, thanks for being patient. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Kyle, Chris from New Jersey.
What's up, Chris? I appreciate you calling in, man. Welcome to the show.
All right. Well, I got a story which you are going to love, and then I'm going to end this debate once and for all. So,
okay.
So first, the story that you're going to love.
Okay.
So my wife and I went to a wedding down in Florida last weekend, and when we were checking in, my wife was talking to the manager, and I heard the word Alabama, so I meandered over, and the manager had gone to Alabama. I start talking Alabama football, how much I love it. My wife is like, oh, he's obsessed. And then my wife says, well, tell him that you call into one of the shows. And I go, yeah. And he goes, which one? I go, Kyle Henderson. And he goes, I love Kyle Henderson. He's the best. I go, oh, he's the best. And he goes, which one are you? And I said, I'm Chris from New Jersey. He goes, I was wrong about Jalen Milroe as well.
Oh,
and
man,
I literally,
crazy.
so I go, it's everywhere. So,
Yeah.
so now let's get on to this debate.
Okay.
someone from the North, I hope these guys aren't calling me a Yankee. I love Alabama. But if Alabama beats Georgia, okay, Alabama is in 100%. There's no chance. So now listen, I have been nice, and I have gone in the comments, and I have apologized to Coach Sean 9 weeks in a row about Milroe. And I've said to you like weeks ago, hey, listen, if I'm wrong, I'll apologize week in and week out and be happy to do so because that means we're winning, right? Okay, so Coach Sean, after we get into this playoff, which if we beat Georgia, it's in 100%. Now, I have there's some pieces that I can go into after, but so it's Coach Sean, who I really like and really respect. I would like a minor apology because Alabama's in. Now, let me tell you something. The committee, and I went to Rutgers, so I understand the Big Ten. The Big Ten right now, we know how weak we are. Okay, we know. I mean, you can hear it. The sports writers, the alumni, the alumni of Penn State, they can't stand Franklin. Okay, and the alumni of Michigan right now are ashamed about the cheating. And let me tell you something. I think what's going to happen is Ohio State is going to knock off Michigan. Michigan's going to drop to like 8. They're done because Harbaugh is like a Wolverine with his paw caught in the trap, and he's going to have to gnaw his own paw off to limp to the NFL. So the winner of the SEC. Which would be Alabama, is one. I want to say this again. Coach Sean, if you're listening, Alabama is in 100%. And so, there's no debate. There's no chance they leave the SEC champion out of the playoffs. How could it's the little junior NFL? I mean, come on. So, so I heard this talk and I was like, I can't believe these guys are talking this way. They're not leaving Alabama out if Alabama beats Georgia, period.
I think you have to also look to the fact. I put this out, and I don't tweet a lot. You guys can follow me on Twitter. I'll put my YouTube handle out. But I put this out yesterday, and these are how I have the college football playoff rankings. And I guess I should have showed this earlier. And kind of this is my reasoning to go along with that. And I do agree with you in the fact that if Alabama is able to beat Georgia in the SEC title, that they get into the playoffs. I think that everything that you've seen on Alabama's resume added to the fact that they would be able to beat Georgia in a every single eyeball would be on that game. So I would think they would get in as well. This is how I have the rankings right now. This is my take, and you can follow me on Twitter, Bama, YouTube. Pretty easy to find if you found the YouTube channel. But I have Georgia number 1, 3 good wins consecutively. You have Alabama with 3 good wins. So consider these wins top 25 wins from the college football playoff rankings. You also have Ohio State, who has 2 good wins, really one. You have Penn State and Notre Dame. That's who they beat. You have Washington, who has 2 good wins now that they beat Oregon State. And like Luke was saying from Weaver, Alabama, Oregon State's probably the only team in that conference that does have a defense. Last night's score was 22-20. Michigan, they have 1 good win, and I guess that's against Penn State. And as you said, Chris, not a lot of people think very highly of Penn State and James Franklin. He's had some interesting interactions with the media recently that sometimes kind of lead to, something going on behind the scenes. It hasn't looked very good. Oregon under Dan Lanning, they really have just 1 win. And their win, I think, when you look to it, it gets kind of less and less because this is the Utah team that hasn't been the Utah team of the past. They won that game in Salt Lake, and the AD from the committee is actually from Utah is on the committee. So he had a front row seat to see Oregon, and they love Oregon style points. Oregon has the number 1 offense in the country. Then you have Texas with 1 good win, which is over Alabama. And I think it has to be added into the fact of their recent play. Last night, they have a 10-point win over Iowa State, but prior to that, a game against Kansas State, that was in overtime, and then they beat TCU by only 3 points as well. Florida State, I dropped them completely because they are now out with Jordan Travis, and I just don't think that they're the same team. And I think that they only have one good win, which is against LSU. So overall, I think Florida State is out, and I get it. They could very well beat Florida, and who knows what's going to happen against Louisville. But the fact of the matter is this is not the same team, and I've always been the one to say it's how are the teams playing right now at this very point in time. The playoffs aren't about what happened in week 2. I get it. The head-to-head is certainly part of the formula that needs to be involved, but also like who are your top 4 teams as of right now, and those are my top 4. So I think, Chris, look, I agree with you, and I'll talk to Coach Sean about it too. Look, if Alabama wins the SEC title, they're in, but it's just crazy because when we look to the past last year, and I know the past doesn't dictate the future, TCU didn't beat Kansas State, and TCU still got in the playoffs, which is crazy.
I know. Well, I think they're trying to right that ship, and your analysis of the top, I agree. There's no, I mean, the SEC championship is the actual national championship.
Sure, yeah.
Whoever wins that, obviously Georgia gets in. If Alabama wins, they get in, and whoever is in there wins. So I mean, I watched Michigan. I've watched them. And Harbaugh or no Harbaugh, obviously stealing those signs was actually pretty big, right? Because as soon as they stopped, they barely beat Maryland. Maryland is not a good football team. They barely beat them yesterday. And Ohio State, we all know what happened against Notre Dame. I think those teams. I think some teams in the SEC beat those. Some third or fourth or fifth teams. You could beat those teams. Maybe Lane Kiffin puts up a good game plan and gets ahead and rides that out to a victory. That could happen. I mean, he's a brilliant offensive coach. But come on, and I do want to say one thing is I'm so happy that you guys all proved me so wrong about Jalen Milroe. Listen, I'm happy to apologize. Remember when I was complaining, a couple months ago to you, I was saying that he wasn't setting his feet. He was, by the way, watch his feet. And I'm talking about, don't watch his feet against Chattanooga. Watch his feet against Kentucky. He is setting his feet. This guy, Tommy Rees, is doing an outstanding job. And listen, this guy, we got to remember one thing is this guy came from Notre Dame where he didn't have the talent level of Alabama. Sure. It's taking him a little while to get going. And now he's formulating a game plan. He knows what to attack. He sees what they're taking. Hey, listen, when Milroe had to beat teams with his arm, he did. He did beat them with his arm. Yeah. If they're gonna stack up the box, boom. If they're gonna go out, they're gonna go into zone coverage. He's gonna take off and run for 50 yards.
Yeah, and I think the two games to point to that going forward are, look, he beat LSU with using his legs, right, in a combination of going through the air, and against Texas A&M, a team that certainly challenged them to beat him over the top by throwing, he beat them as well. So, the guys continue to show up game after game, and he's proven that he can, most importantly, improve week by week. And you're right, Tommy Rees has done a great job with the quarterbacks. But number one, the most important thing is at the end of the day, Jalen Milroe has proven that he can win games and win big games, and he's only getting more momentum. And I think the best thing about Jalen Milroe is the fact that he's still playing with the chip on his shoulder, because there's so many people like your AJs and everybody else that happy. Because there's so many people that still, like, I would say during one point in time, I would say that there was probably 65% that didn't believe in him. And then he won a big game against Texas A&M, and I think it kind of shifted to maybe there was like 40%. And then he won LSU, and that kind of shrunk down to like, whatever, 35%. There's still a large percentage of people, and large by I say like 25%, maybe 20%, which is still large in my opinion, that don't believe in Jalen Milroe, that doesn't believe that he has the ability to win a big game, win an SEC title game, whatever. And I think that's adding to the fuel, and that's perfect for him, because you want that chip on your shoulder when you're a quarterback like that, especially going into a game like Auburn. Don't overlook it. I think he'll rise to the occasion, and I can't wait to see what he does in these next two games. I mean, the guy is so dangerous with the football in hand. He can beat you over the top. He continues to improve, and most importantly, he knows how to win football games. Anything else, Chris?
Oh yeah, one last thing, and with Bradwell going out for the targeting,
Yeah.
does he have to sit out the first half of Auburn?
That was a good question.
Okay.
I had originally said that he did, but since it happened in the first half of that game, he just had to sit out the remainder, which is kind of, unfortunate because that was his senior day. But again, it clearly was targeting. Brian Kelly, that was targeting.
Yeah,
that was 100%. I don't think he was trying to like purposely knock the dude out of the game, but that was 100% targeting. So he will be able to play from the get-go against Auburn.
Well, you see how much he elevates Dallas Turner's game when he's in the game.
Yeah.
It's dramatic. Oh, and listen, one last minor little thing, and I don't want to go to negative town about Pete Golding. I've already called you multiple times complaining. I don't want to do that. But can we give this guy, Kevin Steele, can we give him like a round of applause?
Yeah.
I mean, he is, this is, and look how many guys from last year's defense are in the NFL starting.
Yeah.
All right. Will Anderson is tearing it up, Brian Branch, et cetera, et cetera. This guy is doing a bang up job on the defense. Listen, I would say this, as a Giant fan, who was the best halftime adjuster in almost in NFL history was Bill Parcells. Mm-hmm. He beat teams that were better than the Giants at halftime. Mm-hmm. So it goes to show you how, whatever's happening in the first half, Kevin Steele is locking them down in the second half.
Yeah.
His adjustments are, when you see a team that goes, oh, no, look at this, the second half is worse than the first. Mm-hmm. That is bad coaching. It has nothing to do with the players. It's bad coaching. When the defense for Alabama plays twice as good in the second half as they do in the, and so that's all on Kevin Steele and Nick Saban. Of course, I'm not taking anything away from the GOAT, but listen, I'm super excited for this week. I wanted to say to you again, by the way, there is no other shows. I only watch one now. They're all gone. They don't exist. There's only your show. So I want to say keep up the outstanding work. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to you, your family, everybody that listens, and roll Tide, and let's so look forward to next Saturday.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling in. Thank you very much. All right, see you, Chris.
Be well. Be well. Right. Talk to you, Kyle.
All right, that was Chris out in New Jersey. I appreciate it. Hey, fam, ran out of time today, so if I didn't get to your calls, hold it against my head, not my heart, and I appreciate you guys joining me today for 2 hours right here on this beautiful Sunday. I really appreciate it. We got a fantastic week coming your way as we get you prepared for the Iron Bowl. You got Coach Saban on Monday, you got player interviews, you got Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll have more coverage as Coach Saban meets with the media one more time before Thanksgiving. Just take a minute real quick just to, I just want to say thank you very much for all the support that you guys have given me this year. One of my, objectives this year is to be consistent, and I hope that you guys see that from me. And you guys can catch me Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. every single day right here on the Call-In Show. So thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. If I didn't get to you guys, call in again next time. And, it's nothing personal. It's just I went 2 hours. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. And I will catch up with you soon right here on Bama Football on YouTube.